The Arrogant History of White Ben, Chapter 17, No Crows in Our Sky. There was an instant's silence, a silence so marked, so uneasy that Ben, looking from one to the other, was puzzled. It did not seem to him that he had said anything remarkable. Crows were crows. He took another spoonful of his fascinating bombe glacée. Ice in midsummer? There was no end to the novelties of human existence. If he had stayed upon his hilltop among the morning glories, he would have missed it all. In genuine serenity he continued to eat, watched by the entire party, till Jenny, as if involuntarily, broke the silence. "I knew it," said Jenny under her breath. "You knew what?" said Latimer harshly, watching her as she pulled a pad out of her evening bag and hastily scribbled down a note. She gave him a look both intimate and hostile, and turned to Bothering, who was also wanting her intimate attention, but to him she gave it without hostility. "I am interested," said Bothering to her colorlessly. "I thought so." She was equally colorless. "A new party, eh?" Lady Pont helped them. "Pah!" said Edgar Swate. "I have known 24 leaders of revolt in Faenza. "I bet you he's in the Secret Service," announced Thetis. "What are you talking about, Thess?" said Percy to her sister hopelessly. "Don't badger him," cried Lady Pont. "I know all about him." "Dear Lady Pont, we thought you did," said Jenny quickly, and looked at Bothering. But we don't," Teddy Barnstable put in. "Of course you don't." Lady Pont was brisk with them. "But with proper safeguards, Mr. Campion might let you. At least Edgar, he knows what he's going to do. Why not tell us about your plans, Mr. Campion? We're friendly." And then across the table to Bothering. "I've put my house at his disposal blindfold. There!" She turned comfortably to Ben again. "Now tell us all about it. It's practice for you." "Oh, not here," interrupted Illico, with a glance at the returning Trelawney. It was the first time he had spoken to the table as a whole, and he looked so prepared for damning indiscretions that Edgar backed him with a nervous, "Angela! Angela!" Angela was curious, but she knew her curtain line when she heard it. She began to gather the women with her eye. "Let's talk about it indoors, shall we? It's quite dark, you know." And she looked up. They all looked up at the purple sky. It was as thick with stars as a spring meadow with daisies. Ben waved a hand at them generously. "They come out at night," he explained affably, and then looking at Angela, "I will tell you because of the lift." "Must you?" cried Illico, as Angela sank back into her seat. Yet his agitation was genuine. He wished to have first look into his leader's remarkable mind, and here was Ben offering everyone a look. But his agitation was misunderstood by the company, who felt that he was a man of secrets and awarded him with a laurel for prudence. Jenny, who had been watching him, rose quietly. Coming round the table, she sat down beside him on the half of Thess's chair. "Do you run him?" she said in an undertone, and then, in still a lower voice, "We must have a little talk." But Ben had begun to speak, and Illico shook his head. "Not now," he muttered. She gave him a nod that said, "I too am a dry nurse," then put her pad on the table beside him with great composure began to write him a letter. Instantly he pulled out his own pencil, and they exchanged a good deal of information, while with another part of their efficient minds they listened to Ben's monologue. "I tell you," Ben was saying, "that these troubles of which you speak can be cured. They say that now peace has come, there will be still less food, that people do not know what to do, and Parliament cannot tell them, but I know what to do. I have explained it to my friends, and they agree with me. They are behind me. She is," he nodded to Lady Pont. "So is he," and he drew attention to Illico, who was at that moment scribbling on Jenny's pad. "But these are only 2 of my many friends, and I have known them long. I have many more. To begin with," his eyes shone, "there is my Maker." "Oh, Lord, a revival meeting," began Thys, but Teddy Barnstable quelled her with, "He's starting a movement. Of course he must rope in the religious. Shut up, darling fool." And he squeezed her knee with his neatly manicured hand. She wriggled. They scuffled quietly, but with attentive faces. "Then there are the people in my home," Ben was gathering speed, "who have written to me of others as far away as Washington." He smiled at Bothering with great simplicity, and Bothering shifted in his chair, watching him with twinkling, attentive eyes. Excuse me. "And they sent back gifts," said Ben, thinking gratefully of George's daughter and the morning glory seeds. "Also," he glanced at Illico, "there will be people waiting for us in London, though I shall not go to London yet. It is in the country that the work must be done. Only last night, here in the country, I learned how many were behind me. I held a meeting last night." Lady Pont sat up and stared. He caught her eye and nodded. "Yes. Soon after I left you, I came to the meeting place, and there they were, hundreds and hundreds of people, more than I could count. They had come up secretly from their sleeping places. They had crept to my side to tell me their wrongs, their oppressions, their miseries, their griefs. This party or that party, this leader or that. What do they care? They want to possess their own fields in peace. They do not want strange creatures crossing the seas and tumbling on them to their beaches and clutching their earth as that black robber did. What was his name?" He turned upon Lady Pont. "You told me of him?" "William the Conqueror, 1064, she said. "Yes, a Norman. Beak nose, iron claws. We want no more rich Normans, no more Saxons, no more Danes." "No more aliens, in fact," said Edgar. "Aliens!" Ben caught it up. "Always these aliens are flying over our fields. Do you know the rhyme? People sang it to me, people who knew their fields. Sow 4 beans to make your row, 1 to rot and 1 to grow, 1 for the rook and 1 for the crow. Do you understand what that means? 4 beans? But 2 are taken away from you, 2 out of every 4. Who takes them? Crows, I tell you. Black, beastly, filth-dripping crows. Well then, my work will scare them off. The body of the country. No crows in our sky," said young Barnstable uncertainly. "That's a head of a headline." And his glance flickered from Bothering to Jenny. Thys giggled in the profound silence. Said Bothering at last. "Crows, you call them. What else should I call them?" said Ben. And then earnestly, "Oh, rooks, if you like, but it's the same thing, only worse. Crows murder in pairs, but the rooks, they gather in thousands." Said Bothering again, but Lady Pont shook her head. "I warned you, child," she said. "You mustn't speak in parables." "Oh, but I know what he means," Edgar spoke. He had woken up at last. "First single spies, then battalions. It's as old as the invasion of Palestine." And he startled Ben by suddenly dropping his voice from its normal pitch to a deep and rhythmic boom. "And Joshua, the son of Nun," declaimed Edgar, "sent 2 men to spy secretly, saying, 'Go view the land.' And when they returned, they said unto Joshua, 'Truly the Lord hath delivered unto our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country, they do faint because of us.' And after that, if you remember," concluded Edgar in his own voice, "the entire hordes passed over Jordan, and that was the end of the Aborigines. Oh, believe me, I see what Mr. Campion's driving at with his scare crows. Mr. Campion has mastered a word. I remember that in the beginning was the Word, therefore," he bowed formally, "I listened to Mr. Campion with certain respect. Nevertheless, speaking as a practical politician, how it's going to help conditions in England for Mr. Campion to go about the country naming no names but denouncing crows, I fail to see. What is he going to do to his crows? Let him tell us that." Ben's eyes began to glow. "Now I will tell you. he was beginning, but Bothering suddenly struck in. I should not, Mr. Campion. And without letting Ben speak, he went on. Not fair, Swate, leading him on, said Edgar sulkily. Free speech? I won't have it, said Bothering with such authority that Edgar, a good host, shrugged and gave way. Simultaneously, Jenny shut up her pad, jerked the elastic over with a snap, and rose as if to go back to her own place. The hint was beautifully given. She was modest, unobtrusive. She signaled to no one. She caught no one's eye, yet her movements at the moment made it absolutely necessary for Angela to rise with her, and this time Angela's gleaming eye brought them all to their feet. We'll have coffee in the library, Trelawney, said Angela, and then to the others. It's getting quite cold. Cold? This caught up. It's tropical. Teddy and I are going to bathe, and the pair dashed off, swinging hands. Persephone stood, trying to make up her mind either to follow them or not to follow them, and was swept ardently along by Illico, who neglected no one. Lady Pont slipped her arm through Angela's, and Ben found the speechless Latimer at his side. It was quite natural that old Bus should take Jenny Oleron by the elbow and walk her along with him. But they did not, like the others, go straight into the house. The terrace was big as a tennis court, with rose beds and stone walls, and it was down these walks that he marched her, up and down for a good half hour before he came in to his coffee. After that, he played chouette and won steadily, till, halfway through a brilliant game, he noticed that Ben had been withdrawn by Lady Pont. With some difficulty, he managed to lose, gave up his seat to Edgar, and went on to the terrace to find the other two. He found them among the roses. Roses and a moon at your age, mumbled Bothering. Bessie, will you never change your methods? It's only a floodlight, she sighed, looking at the pink and blue dazzles which Illico had installed. Oh, but the moon will come, Ben assured her. Do not be afraid. Afraid? Grant me patience. Do you want to talk to this wooden head? Demanded Lady Pont of Bothering, with an air of handing over Ben. Not now, he stopped her quietly. Tomorrow, said Bothering. I thought you would. You see what I saw then? Said she. Of course, although he will need grooming, said Bothering, watching Ben, who, ceasing to understand, had grown bored. He wandered away from them, and would have been out of earshot, had he not been stopped, not so much by a clump of dahlias, as by the tall pole in their midst, with a flower-pot fixed to its top. Look at him, will you? Well, said old Bus plaintively. Ben was regarding the flower-pot on its pole as a puppy regards with apprehension its own features in a looking-glass. He was putting out a finger, touching it gingerly, and pulling it away again quickly. He was very frightened, rather happy, and oblivious of the conversation 3 yards away. Bothering went on. I have put on Jenny to find out from the secretary fellow about this alleged following of his. A convocation of asses, as Edgar, who is one, would say, but it might be useful at this particular moment. He cannot last, but he is striking, I give you that. I won't have him massacred, she said. My dear Bessie. No, I mean it. I know your little ways. Up to him, said Bothering. I shall use him in any case. If he can be lifted, I'll lift him. As high as it suits you. Well, he's probably a mere war mushroom. They are pushing up all over the States. All these mad little messiahs, but he is the maddest. That is why I am a little interested. I like him and I shall help him, said Bessie. I hope you will help me. Not against a child, said she. Now, why not? What rank is sentimentality? Don't be a sweet old tante who thinks in terms of the next generation. What are the unborn to me? This is my world. When I am dead, the next generation can do what they like with it. But I'm not dead yet in this, my only world. We'll pause there.